This is a podcast from the Business Times.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, July 22nd, 2026. From the Business Times news desk, here are your headlines. What you need to know. Oil prices surged to a 5-week high today, as 2 oil tankers carrying Saudi crude to Asia reversed course in the Red Sea. U.S. President Donald Trump announced that generic drugs imported into the U.S. will face a 100% tariff starting August 2028 and doubling to 200% in August 2029. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will meet Foreign Minister Wang Yi on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Manila today. In world news, the cost of the U.S. war in Iran has climbed to $37.5 billion, according to the U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, an increase of almost $8 billion from the last publicly released estimate. Testifying before lawmakers in Washington yesterday, Hegseth said the total includes current military operations and expected costs through the end of September, though there was no detail as to how the figure was derived. The conflict intensified after U.S. forces bombed targets in southern and western Iran, following U.S. President Donald Trump's warning that Tehran would face severe consequences for the deaths of American soldiers. Iran retaliated with strikes on U.S. sites in Bahrain, Kuwait, and Jordan, while a tanker came under attack in the Strait of Hormuz. Turning now to tariffs, President Donald Trump announced that generic drugs imported into the U.S. will face a 100% tariff starting August 2028 for 1 year, before doubling to 200% the year after. Our tariff watch continues as U.S. and Mexican trade negotiators begin a third round of bilateral talks today, aiming to advance efforts to revamp the North American trade agreement. The 3-day talks, which do not include Canada, mark the first formal negotiations on changes to the U.S.-Mexico-Canada Agreement, or the USMCA, since Washington opted not to renew the 6-year-old pact on July 1st. President Trump imposed 50% tariffs on a broad range of Canadian imports earlier on Monday, covering products from wine and dairy products to clothing and wigs. They were imposed under Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930, the first time the law has been invoked in nearly a century. In the region, top U.S. and Chinese diplomats are set to hold talks on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit in Manila today. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will meet Foreign Minister Wang Yi against a backdrop of rising tensions over the South China Sea and President Trump's claims that China meddled in U.S. election data. Moving closer to home in Southeast Asia, Indonesia has reduced funding for President Prabowo Subianto's flagship free school meals program to 229 trillion rupiah, or $12.81 billion from 268 trillion rupiah, with officials warning additional cuts could follow. The program, Prabowo's most expensive campaign promise, has fueled concerns about the country's fiscal health. Since its launch in January 2025, the program has been plagued by logistical issues, nutrition concerns, and several mass food poisoning incidents. Last month, anti-corruption authorities also arrested the nutrition agency's former chief and 2 other officials as part of a corruption investigation. In Singapore, Singapore Exchange, or the SGX, will launch Singapore Depository Receipts, or SDRs, for 3 U.S.-listed companies, Grab, Sea, and SpaceX, today. The listings will be the first U.S.-listed SDRs available on SGX, bringing the exchange's total SDR offering to 38 across a total of 4 markets, including Hong Kong, Indonesia, and Thailand. In companies and markets, oil prices surged to a 5-week high today, as 2 oil tankers carrying Saudi crude to Asia reversed course in the Red Sea following threats from Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis, highlighting growing disruptions to shipping through 2 of the world's key energy transit routes as the Middle East conflict widens. Brent crude settled 2% higher at $91.01 a barrel. And stocks we're watching include AEM Holdings and MoneyMax. For updates throughout your day, visit bt.sg. And don't forget to check in with our wrap podcast, Market Focus Daily, at 6 this evening for the day's market movements.
This is a podcast by the Business Times. Find more BT podcasts at businesstimes.com.sg/podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.